first. Welcome to springtime in New York. Madison Square Park. Remember, no bicycle. It's been quite a while since I've done one of these walk around videos. People saw I was hanging out in Florida with Sal, visiting family down there. There's a lot going on. Some people would say we got a energy crisis pending, a food crisis pending, big war going on. It's maniac season in New York, so that means there will be bicycles on the sidewalk, crazy people doing crazy things. But we've got a brutal bare-knuckle battle. I don't know if people have been following that on X. Welcome back, by the way, to all the viewers on the Jason Goodman YouTube channel, recently reinstated, not even a month ago. 115,000 subscribers there. Oh, speaking of maniac season, we're not a moment too soon. Don't forget your wool hat. It's only 70 degrees out. But welcome back to all the viewers on the Jason Goodman YouTube channel. 115,000 subscribers, videos getting 300 views. I don't know. YouTube is a complicated thing. Social media is a complicated thing. Laura Loomer and Candace Owens, huge battle going on. People say, oh, you know, this is clout chasing, clickbaiting. No, I'm actually very interested in this from the standpoint of social engineering, because there's so much surrounding the two of them, and I'm not accusing either of them of any wrongdoing. I'm just observing what goes on around these two very large and influential social media accounts. You know, it seems quite clear to me, and this ties directly back to the reinstatement of the Jason Goodman YouTube channel, that there's been a shift in the sort of center of the media universe. Tectonic plates are moving around. Look at that little wiener dog getting pissed off. Those dogs get angry. But there's been a shift, right? It was 10 years ago that I started Crowdsource the Truth, almost to the month. We're getting close. 2016. And when was YouTube created? I know the iPhone, I think the first one came out. Already we're having a problem with the broadcast. I think the first iPhone came out 2006, right? So I'm not sure when YouTube came about, but certainly it was low quality crap video at first. Did we already lose this broadcast? What a disappointment that'll be if it did. My point being, everybody knows about Operation Mockingbird and how the CIA was able to control media by paying journalists. I've alleged that professional scumbag Adam Sharp's father was a part of that. He was inside the Dallas police station reporting that Lee Harvey Oswald shot JFK on November 22nd, 1963. People who watch the Jason Goodman YouTube channel might have missed all that, because a lawsuit from Adam Sharp played a pivotal role in knocking that channel out. I hope we're still live. There's that little dog. Maybe it cut off. Well, if it did, this will come back later. Working on technology to mitigate that problem. We know there's been all kinds of issues, but you know, certainly 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, even early 2000s. You know, 2006 when the iPhone came out, didn't even have a camera on it yet. And live streaming on YouTube. I remember when I started, live streaming was pretty new. You could upload videos to YouTube, you know, maybe since 2004, 5, I don't know. But the concept of going live from your phone, it was still pretty new. We didn't have all these social media influencers, you know. Tucker Carlson was still on Fox News, Megyn Kelly, NBC. Those were the media giants, you know. The notion that somebody like Laura Loomer or any individual, Candace Owens, could become so influential in that a million, I think Candace Owens has 4 million people watching her shows, maybe more. Laura's got 2 million on Twitter, on X. Now this is bizarre. I saw this the other day. It's part of the reason why I wanted to come out and do this video. Look at that eyeball. What do people think of that? I know Crowdsource the Truth viewers are going to find that pretty interesting. That is a very all-seeing eye. You know, are we living in a simulation? What does that even mean? You know, some people think that's a crazy idea. Like, you know, what are we talking about? Are we living in some kind of alien video game? Or is it that we're so bombarded with manipulated narratives that everything that almost everybody believes is false or some concocted story? I don't know. Crowdsource the Truth from the beginning. A lot of people misunderstood what it was about. They thought, some people thought, it meant that I had the truth and I was asking people for money to crowdfund that truth. I don't have the truth. I'm looking for the truth. I do want people to fund the show by going to subscribestar.com or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth or crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com. So a big part of that is breaking this spell that I'm talking about. Not the supernatural spell that Tucker Carlson was talking about. I'm speaking figuratively. I mean, when shows and things are sponsored by corporations, obviously those corporations have a big say in what the person does or does not say, because I remember when I first started this, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who unfortunately I don't speak to anymore, who worked for a pharmaceutical magazine. And basically I was telling him, you know, the pharmaceutical companies dictate what you put in that magazine. He's like, that's ridiculous. They never tell us what to put there. And I wasn't saying that they would actually come out and tell them what to put there, but the point is if they didn't like what was there, they would stop the advertising and that would stop the magazine. So there's just no doubt that there is a direct relationship there. So this is Charlotte Colbert. Is that Stephen Colbert's wife, daughter? But it's Steele, and it's Dreamland Sirens. Live isn't going up, Sal says. It's 8 minutes late. Oh man. You see, there's all these technical problems. I've got 4 bars. I don't know what channel Sal is watching on, but maybe on X it's not going. Yeah, all kinds of problems. No, well, wait a minute. It looks like it's on X. Maybe Sal's having connectivity problems. Point is, the direct-to-viewer sponsorship, that's how I like to do it, because that eliminates any corporate sponsor who might say, hey, Jason, you know, we don't like all this stuff that you're saying about this or that, COVID-19 or the election. That's ostensibly what got me kicked off of YouTube 5 years ago. But, you know, I'll do another video perhaps in the future about how the YouTube channel was reinstated. It was a brutal battle. Not quite as brutal as what we're seeing between Laura Loomer and Candace Owens. That's crazy. I don't know if I've ever seen anything quite like that. They're locked in a bare knuckle, it's just a fight to the death, really, right? I mean, so let's just talk about it, because if you've been living under a rock, maybe you haven't seen what's been going on there. But I don't even know what brought this about, but Laura started basically putting out some information about an alleged DUI arrest where Candace Owens' husband, who I think maybe he's a U.S. citizen, but he's British born, obviously. His father is a lord in the United Kingdom. The father is a whole interesting story unto himself. His involvement in precious metals, and we got to get into that with Charles. Charles was telling me a lot about what the father was doing with this Enron-like precious metals scandal, allegedly in Germany. But anyway, there was this, she's got a whole series here on the collapse of Candace. I don't know, maybe this is because she doesn't like what Candace has to say about Charlie Kirk and Erica Kirk and all of that. By the way, I want to remind people who are here to tell me how much they hate me. I had a fairly positive view of Candace Owens at the outset of that Charlie Kirk incident. She was ignoring my information. We'll talk about that some more too. But here it is. Laura's talking about, I think I just passed it there. She's talking about this arrest report that she got. People have pointed out it says the guy's hair is black. His hair is actually blonde. I could believe sloppy police handwriting gets transcribed incorrectly on a police report, and blonde comes out as black when it gets typed. The bigger problem is that Tennessee is misspelled on a police report. Again, I'm not making excuses for that. I don't have answers for how that could have happened. I acknowledge those are problems, but people have said that is proof. People, again, don't seem to know the difference between evidence and proof. They say that's proof. Some people have said it's proof that Laura forged these documents. And I just think that is just too far of a leap, because that would be crazy for Laura to do that. Why would she do that? You know, I mean, it would seem logically that deliberately forging the documents would open the door to a huge lawsuit from Candace Owens and George Farmer, because you would knowingly, that would by definition mean you were knowingly disseminating false information to harm the person's reputation. And whether you love Laura or hate Laura, I don't think you can really say she's stupid. A lot of people say, yes, she is. She got tricked into eating dog food. I looked into that claim. I hadn't heard about that before. It doesn't appear to me that she was tricked into eating dog food. She had an advertiser on her show selling some kind of gourmet dog food that was advertised as being so high quality it was human grade. Bison liver and bison hearts. Maybe not appetizing, but certainly something you could eat. And as part of the ad read, Laura ate a little bite of this dog food. I mean, that's different than getting tricked. Maybe she got paid $100,000 for that ad read. So is that stupid or smart? I don't know. That's a subjective determination for everybody to make. But there's a lot of people who might choose to eat beef liver or bison liver. So I don't think that's crazy, and I definitely don't think that's proof or even evidence that she's stupid. That might be evidence that she's very smart, because here's somebody brought it to my attention and now we're talking about it. And she got paid, obviously. So I don't know. My point is, she knows her way around a lawsuit, and she knows what defamation is all about. And even if you do think she's stupid people are still very aware of self-preservation. And they don't necessarily want to do things that are going to definitely get them jammed up in lawsuits that they're going to lose. So I find it hard to imagine that she would deliberately forge that document. I can't explain how the word Tennessee gets misspelled on a police document in Tennessee, but I've seen the police do some pretty stupid things. And we don't know how the word Tennessee gets on that document. If someone types it into a computer and that day they made a typo, I don't know. But the other thing is, people say, oh, the hair isn't black. You know, there are problems on that document that need to be explained. But then, you know, when people first brought this to my attention last night, we're like, how do you feel about spreading bullshit? I said, well, all I said about it was the guy wrecked a TRX. And it's true, the car was a TRX. I noticed that just from the intake scoop for the supercharger, and the pattern on the grille looks like it has teeth on it. And I think that's significant because it's not just any old pickup truck. A TRX is a $100,000 700 horsepower deal. And my point is, if you just had another random guy in Tennessee named George Farmer, it seems like a pretty common name. But you start narrowing it down to people who have enough money to buy a $100,000 pickup truck and are also named George Farmer. Again, we start to have more evidence, not proof, but we start to have more evidence that this could be that guy's truck. The other thing is, if Laura had made this up, I think that Candace would come back pretty immediately with strong evidence against her. You know, one of the things that happened, you gotta be very discerning. You gotta be careful, because when I say simulation, again, it's fake information, false, manipulative information that people like to put out. Holy crap, look at the size of that giant dog. That's like Marmaduke. But it's not just people on social media. And again, I'm not accusing Laura or Candace of putting out fake information. I don't know. I haven't spoken to Laura about this. I haven't spoken to Laura at all in probably, I don't know, maybe 2 years. Text occasionally, but Laura's obviously very busy hanging out with the president and going to the Pentagon and stuff like that. But I don't know where she got the information. I don't know if it's correct or incorrect. I'm just looking at what everybody else sees, and I'm saying it just doesn't make logical sense to me that Laura would do this against someone who obviously hates her and would take any opportunity to destroy her. Why would she hand her that ammunition? I could be wrong. The other thing that's a little crazy about this is that, you know, we had the President of the United States. So this is what I mean. Here's Newsweek. Trump puts out a doctored photo, they say. So the person who reads that headline is going to think that this really unflattering, horrible photo of Candace Owens is doctored. When I saw it, I didn't know if it was real or doctored. It certainly looks terrible. And I don't agree with the president. Whatever you want to say about Candace Owens, she is a very pretty woman. I don't think you can take that away from her. This is a horrible photo. Candace has already come out and addressed this. She says she published that photo herself. I think she said in 2019, and the explanation was she got hit by some kind of toxic mold outbreak. That's plausible. That could be true. You get sick, your face swells up, you look bad. I don't know why she wants to put out a picture of herself like that, but she acknowledged it. Why would she, let's accept that as true. Why would she lie? I mean, you could say, oh, well, she was smoking crack, so she lied and said this and that. Anything is possible, but let's accept that plausible explanation as true. Why wouldn't she have, an equally strong rebuttal for what Laura is putting out now? And I'm not even looking at the comments right now, because I got to keep my eye on this signal strength thing here and keep hitting the buffer. It's not working that well today. I'm disappointed. Like I've said many times, I spend a lot of money to try to keep this network going, and it's just so frustrating. But Candace came out right away, just earlier, with this rebuttal. But look, she's speaking carefully herself. She says, we do not own a black TRX pickup truck. Well, I don't think that's the current allegation. It's that this accident happened in 2023. So maybe that's true that she doesn't own the pickup truck right now, but she goes on to say that Laura has doxed her personal car. And actually, the most damning thing that Candace says, which supports what I'm talking about, she's making allegations that Laura's fiance works for some kind of auto company, and that's how she was able to trace the VIN number from the police report to George Farmer's address. Now, again, I don't know if that's true or false. I don't even know who Laura's fiance is, but that does ring true, because people who have been watching for the past 10 years know that I'm pretty good at doing research into people and finding people, whether it's Alan Dershowitz or Brett Weinstein or his brother Eric, who got really pissed off when I called him. All kinds of people I'm able to get on the phone. There was an incident where I was choked outside of Twitter. I was able to serve Elon Musk at his personal home. That was difficult to find. I helped Laura serve Bill Maher, found his home address. However, I'm not able to locate somebody's address from a VIN number, and I wasn't sure how Laura did do that. So, I mean, again, Laura is bringing up issues that would potentially get Candace Owens' husband deported, brought up on some kind of criminal charge. I think she's even calling for that, and that would be a worthwhile thing for Candace to be concerned about. Laura has got some pull with the president. You never know what might come of that. But that's, I mean, you're really, when I say bare knuckle, you threaten the father of somebody's children with getting deported from the United States and put in jail. This is not joking around. I don't think that people are doing this for clicks or, she's going to know that the defense against that, the retaliation, I'm sure Laura would have anticipated what is happening now with Candace. And if her fiance did do something that's against the law, that's not smart. He might get into trouble too. By the way, the other thing is I saw, I don't know who it was, some other social media influencers were saying that Laura's breaking the law and forging documents. She's going to go to jail for that. I don't know. People read laws and they think that equates to automatically having things happen. George and his brother, according to evidence I've seen in the public domain, have forged documents and filed them in U.S. District Court. 88, that's the same number that was in George Farmer's license plate, allegedly. And then that was linked to HH, which is linked to, Nazi stuff. It's also a good luck number in Chinese, so maybe George Farmer likes China. I don't know. That's the thing. Jumping to conclusions from this stuff, you got to be careful. You never know what people have in mind or what this stuff is all about. But yeah, George and his brother forged a document, changed the date, did all kinds of things. I told a federal judge about it. The Detroit police and the Detroit FBI agreed with me that had happened, yet no prosecution ever. So, I mean, again, they're playing with fire. Whether somebody gets burned or not, I don't really know. We will see. Or maybe not. Maybe nothing happens. What buffering? YouTube started in 2005, sold to Google in 2006 for $1.6 billion. Yeah. They're doing everything in their power to quiet me. I agree, John. Yeah, and by the way, if people are watching on Crowdsource 11, Crowdsource 12, I hope you will subscribe on the Jason Goodman YouTube channel. If you just go down to the bottom, I've got the featured channels there. It's amazing. Oh, it didn't start on the Jason Goodman channel, so nobody can watch there. Why the hell did that happen? I'll have to check that. That must be what Sal was talking about. Yeah, it is. They don't make it easy for me here. I'll deal with that when I get back to the apartment. Yeah, I tell you, why did that not go? But we'll have to see what happens. Candace is going full bore for Laura. Laura's going full bore for Candace. See, the thing is, I had mentioned earlier that I was positive on Candace initially. Now, where is this? I thought I had this thing. in here. Maybe I forgot to load it, but no, here it is. Yeah, I was initially positive on Candace Owens, and when Charlie Kirk was killed, I tried to share information with her. She power ignored it. We even got this, somebody here who, I don't know this person. This is Aiden Rigel show. Does anybody know who Aiden Rigel is? He sent $200, and then somebody said that this guy had previously sent $100 telling Candace that she should talk to me about the evidence that I had with Charlie Kirk. It didn't make a lot of sense to me that she didn't even want to talk about that and hear about that, because it was really relevant to the investigation, I thought, and certainly in the first week, millions of people were looking at it. There's no way she didn't see it. So whenever somebody ignores something that conspicuously, I get suspicious, kind of like Matt Taibbi and Michael Schellenberger ignoring my information about the Twitter coup and then releasing the Twitter files. A lot of people became suspicious of Michael Schellenberger when he went on Joe Rogan and was defending Epstein. I found that crazy, and I'm glad Joe Rogan called him out. So, I mean, again, simulation, what I mean is someone paying a lot of money to Michael Schellenberger, or somehow influencing Michael Schellenberger? Or is Michael Schellenberger, does he honestly believe whatever it was he was telling Joe Rogan, something ridiculous about Epstein? I don't remember the details of it, but I remember agreeing with Joe and also having already decided that Michael Schellenberger was a big, big liar, because these guys literally, when I tried to hand them the Twitter coup, they were like, oh, they were like afraid of it. There's certain people who, when I've approached them, behave in a way that makes me think they know who I am and they are avoiding me. People say, well, a lot of people don't like you, Jason. You're a jerk and you yell at people on bicycles. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people who, even before any of that happened, people who are afraid of the information. Like, why would Elon Musk so aggressively avoid what I was trying to tell him about the FBI being involved in Twitter, particularly when his, reason ostensibly for buying it was to make it a free speech platform? Was that really the reason, or was it that he knew it was a social engineering platform and he just wanted it to be a social engineering platform for him? And if so, are these prominent voices on social media, whether it's Twitter or YouTube, Candace, Laura, George, any of these people that we see, are they, is someone, boosting that for some reason, whether it's paying them money as sponsors and advertisers, or, boosting their information in some way? I can't leave John Cullen out of this. Remember, this is a guy, people will say, Jason, you fight with everybody. That's not true. I did everything I could to help John Cullen to build his platform. He would literally have no platform if it wasn't for me. He had no Twitter and no plans to start it. What a fluffy giant dog that is. Whoa. Had no Twitter whatsoever until we're making some movie with that dog. Is that an NYU Alexa? We've really come a long way since I was there. What do we got going on here? Haven't been down to the park in a while, so people can sort of check out what's going on. All the short, fat, out of shape police officers. Well, Sal is correct. There is no video there. It says upcoming. Where is it playing live here? What do we have here? What is this? more interference. There's probably going to be police around messing with what I'm trying to do. How you doing? Let's see who are the weirdos around here. See, I'm having a lot of difficulty here. Maybe it's just people using. I don't know what this is all about. Maybe it's time to start random investigations on the street again. People always seem to hover around me when I do that. See, this is what I mean, maniac season. Maybe that's the next John Mayer. Or maybe not. But yeah, we just don't know. I mean, right, so somebody sent Candace $300. She didn't even bother to read that super chat. People were sending her $2 super chats, $5 super chats. It's a little weird. Then she boosts people like Ian, people like Baron Coleman. Baron Coleman is a liar. People are going to get upset that I say that. But the district attorney in Alabama said he was, what did they say? He was deceptive, misleading, something like that, in an affidavit. Again, you lie in an affidavit, that's supposed to be a felony. It's sworn under penalty of perjury. But nothing happened to him. So the reason why I think this whole beef between Laura and Candace is important is because if Candace's husband did have this real serious run-in with the law where he could get kicked out of the United States and even face jail, there was apparently a gun involved, according to Laura. I don't know the details, again, beyond what's been published there on Twitter, etc. But it's just like with Blake Bednar's. Now, when I put out Blake's rap sheet, Blake has said repeatedly, oh, Jason used AI to make a fake image of a mugshot. That's not true. Jason uses AI to do all kinds of things, but not that. And certainly I would be subject to, he could sue me if he wants to make that claim. It's false. I didn't use AI, I downloaded that. See, and so the other thing is, people said, oh, Tennessee is misspelled, and it says the guy was born in Nashville instead of England or something like that. So that means Laura forged the document. I mean, no, that means we've got some discrepancies in the document that definitely require an explanation, but I don't think we can jump to the conclusion that it means that Laura forged it. Now, my mind goes to things like, did somebody deliberately give Laura information that was wrong? And I'm not saying that Laura would fall for that, but that's where my mind would go first, because when I first found out about Blake Bednar's criminal past, his convictions, his felonious activity, his serial criminal tendencies, fraudulent behavior, ongoing repetitive commission of crimes, not alleged, adjudicated, convicted, pled out. When I first found out about that, it was because somebody had sent to me some kind of, maybe a mugshot. And my first thought was, is this real? I didn't just blast it out all over the internet. I went, and also I didn't know if the person wanted their name out there or not. The person was using a fake name. That was another red flag on the information. So rather than just hang my hat on this fake named person and their inflammatory information, I went to the texas.gov. I don't remember the exact website offhand, but I went to a Texas, police website and looked this all up. That's where I found the records about Blake that I put out. And I have to assume, based on knowing Laura, not just making a random assumption, that Laura would have done the same thing. She's going to run that information down. And that assumption is backed up by Laura's behavior last night when it started coming out that people were saying Laura forged this information. If she had made a mistake or someone gave her bunk info, that would have been the opportunity to say something to the effect of, oh, it's been brought to my attention that some of this is incorrect and I'm retracting an earlier statement. That's the kind of thing somebody would do if they wanted to avoid the legal liability that such serious allegations, if proven false, would put on them. I make note of the fact that Candace hasn't said unequivocally that these allegations against the husband are false. She said, I think rather deceptively, my family does not own a black TRX. That's funny, because nobody was talking about it being a TRX until I brought that detail up. And again, a lot of people might have said, oh, that's stupid. Why do you care that it's a TRX? But again, that's a very limited edition, extremely expensive. I mean, I guess we see Raptors around all the time, but actually the TRX is even less common than the Raptor, not because it's more expensive, but just because, I don't know, I guess Chrysler doesn't sell as many. Dodge, Ram. When they write that on the front, that's not instructions for what to do with it. But the point is, it just, that's stuck in my mind because you got to have a lot of money to drop $100,000 on a pickup truck, and it's more than $100,000. Laura found out it's like a Hennessy. I wasn't aware of the Hennessy TRX. I am aware of Hennessy, the vehicle tuner, but I didn't know they had a TRX, and apparently that's like a Hurricane, even more tuned up version that's like $160,000. So I mean, you're getting into pretty rarefied territory. I don't own any $160,000 cars. I guess I probably do know. I'm trying to think of who I know that owns a $160,000 car. It's not like he's driving a Camry, So it does start to narrow it down where you're just going to say, oh, the same name, it could be anybody. Anyway, the point is, nice shoes. The point is, unlike I'm doing with Blake, where he says, oh, Jason used AI, that is unequivocally false. I did not use AI. I obtained that information about Blake Bednarz from the authorities. So if there's any problem with that information, Blake needs to take it up with the state of Texas. I'm publishing information that is public information. By the way, it's not doxing. It didn't have his personal address in it or anything like that. I never put out his personal address. And that's another trick that a lot of these people play. Laura had pointed out that she felt that Candace was trying to lure her into publishing her home address or something like that, so that, I guess, what I would presume in that case is that Candace would use that in the same way that, see, I got strong bars over here and it keeps saying it's losing the signal. I would presume that Laura would fear that Candace might use that in the same way that Nina Jankowicz used it against me to get me kicked off of Twitter. These are schemes. See, this strong signal, and it just keeps trying to throw me off. People are probably getting annoyed. Maybe we come around the corner. I don't know. This is terrible. Should be staying connected, but it's not. Oh man. We got now 4 bars and it's trying to disconnect me. Why is it doing that? Terrible. Makes me so crazy. Try to do these walks and I'm just plagued by technical problems. And then people say, oh, Jason, how come other people You know, I don't know. This is all commercial stuff that's supposed to work. And I mean, I'm definitely using it properly. There are times it works perfectly. Maybe I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I think that's going to be kicked off by now. So this is going to have to replay later. This is the battle between Laura Loomer and Candace Owens. Brutal. So that's it. I think it probably got cut off from the various live streams, and I'm just going to continue recording on my walk here, and we'll play this later. I mean, it's almost gotten to the point where walking around New York City, you can't live stream. It used to work fine. And then the bonded link aggregated thing, that worked fine. Now, I can almost never get it to work live. Very disappointing. People are going to be saying, oh, it's buffering. It really ruins the experience for everybody. Again, I think that might be what they want. It's terrible. Trump mad that Tucker and Candace uncovered his $250 million from Israel. Israel owns Trump. I didn't know about that. I don't know. I mean, people say a lot of things. I should run that down before I even mention it on air. I don't know what that is about. I thought, you know, I got a lot of feelings about Tucker Carlson before any of this stuff of him saying that Trump is the Antichrist. Obviously, people who follow on X at JG_CSTT, you've probably seen me posting about how Tucker stole my footage and to help Alan Dershowitz when Dershowitz came on the show and said that the government has the right to, you know, jab you with the vaccine. Why did he do that? Is that because he's such a great guy, or is that because he's a CIA underhanded liar who just says and does whatever suits him? You know, I mean, I never really, they had those text messages from Fox where he was saying how he despises Trump, and then he had some excuse for that. The guy seems to blow whichever way the wind blows. I am working on some technological alternatives that'll hopefully prevent these breaks from the internet. Not ready yet, though. I don't know why the bonded link aggregating thing isn't working anymore. That used to work really well. Totally failed today. It's a new update. I'll have to double check everything on it. But that's a drag. Yeah, so Tucker Carlson, he just, you know, the second my video started going viral, that's another thing that had a ton of social engineering activity on it, because remember, Patrick Bet David and all these other people took my video where Dershowitz said that, cut out my logo to minimize the benefit that I would get from it, maximize the benefit that they would get from it, and also, I think, to shape a narrative favorable to Dershowitz. Because that was like at the height of when everything was going on. And I was right. Dershowitz was wrong. Everybody thinks he's a genius lawyer. I think he's a dick. And also stupid and wrong. And I remember when I told him I was going to sue him for defamation, even though he had blatantly lied about me, he got this really sick and twisted tone to his voice. And he said, I would relish a lawsuit from you. I think that means that, you know, he's one of these guys in this class that's got the courts all rigged up, like Norm Eisen and David Boies. Those guys are all friends, and they know the judges, and they help the judges get their judgeships, and they can sway, you know, who becomes a Supreme Court judge. I think people know that. If Alan Dershowitz tells Trump or whatever, put this person in the Supreme Court, Trump is likely to listen. And that's not good. He's got some idiots that he put in the Supreme Court. And he's he's got some not so good judges that he put into regular district court. So again, you know, these lawfare people, Dershowitz, they get into all kinds of stuff. Tucker seems to know that. He was very friendly to Dershowitz. So, I mean, again, CIA, Mossad, whatever these things are, if Tucker is such a righteous guy, why was he helping Dershowitz? He's just about the most terrible guy I can think of. Yeah, I don't know. Right, and so Candace, so she ignores that guy, Aiden, whatever his name is, and there is someone operating an anonymous Twitter account who I'm pretty sure is George's brother, who started questioning me, oh, who's Aiden Rydell? And I don't know, and he said, don't lie. It's like, well, I don't know who it is. I've never seen that guy before. I don't know why he would send $200. I mean, I guess any random person might look at that and presume that, I don't know what they would presume. But obviously $200 is a lot of money. Like, why didn't that person send $200 to me? Candace doesn't seem to need $200. She's got mansions and fancy cars. By the way, it seemed like she acknowledged what Laura was saying about the real estate trust. She said some LLC owned the car. And I mean, that's gonna, I guess, I don't know, not a lawyer, and also don't know the structure of whatever LLC Candace is talking about, but is that some way to protect assets from getting taken by the Macrons if she loses that lawsuit? The Microns? I don't know. But she ignored the $200 from that guy. She boosts Baron Coleman, who lies about me, helps Blake Bednarz, sends Blake money, gives Blake legal advice. Look at how many things are closing around here. New York continues to be a disaster unfolding in slow motion, or maybe not so slow. 5-iron golf is coming, so I guess that's good if you want to play golf. Oh, what's going on up there? Maybe a car accident? Maybe a car accident? We'll head up there and see. Yeah, I mean, she promotes Ian, who first came at me asking about Quinn Michaels. Ian knows George. That's all very coincidental. Something crazy going on. A lot of fire trucks heading up there. She promotes Baron Coleman, who's working as an informant and who the district attorney says was deceptive, but doesn't charge him with perjury for lying in a sworn document or disseminating grand jury information or whatever it is that he was accused of doing. I don't remember the details offhand. But then, see, again, the same kind of idiots who think that an error on a document is proof that Laura forged it, say, oh, Barron addressed that. Well, Barron said something about it. I didn't hear what he had to say, but I get a feeling that it was probably a lie. Now, this was a bank, I think, out of business. what's happening with the fire trucks here. Lots of stuff out of business. So it's this network of social engineers. That's really my concern with Candace. I don't know. And then if Sal were here, he would say Laura is a social engineer. Look, there's times that I've brought information to Laura that she's also really aggressively ignored it. That bothers me. I don't have a good explanation for it. You know, when the Trump-Butler assassination attempt happened, she was like, oh, how do we not know anything about Thomas Crooks? But, you know, look, there's a lot of people who, Ken Silva constantly insists that it was Thomas Crooks. I don't understand why they choose to believe that element of the story when there's so much evidence that it was Maxwell Yerrick. But I also don't think that means that every single person who doesn't agree with me is a social engineer working for the FBI. I think some of them are. What is on fire here? Don't know. Well, I don't know. I thought we might have some amazing scoop on an emergency, but at least the good news is nobody's hurt. Here we have another clearance sale closing final days. Men's designer clothing with huge markdowns. This looks like a pop-up thing because this wasn't a clothing store before, I don't think. This is out of business. Oh yeah, this was Essen. That's been out of business for a while. So I think that's just part of Essen. Maybe they've split it up into smaller. This whole thing is out of business. Maybe this building is getting renovated. Not good. So we'll see what happens with this, you know, bare knuckle battle to the death, it would seem. I don't know, they've both raised really serious criminal allegations about the other. We'll certainly see where it all lands. It doesn't seem like a lot of potential for a good outcome on either side. I don't know, who knows what it is that kicked this off? I guess they just don't like each other, but why did Laura start going at this so hard? I guess we will find out soon enough. So please become a sponsor of the show. It's really important. As you can see, it's hard to keep this show going. They've already shut down Odyssey. You can't really, unless you use their obscure cryptocurrency. And that went from about 400 or 500 sponsors to 2 in the period of 1 month, really overnight, when that thing ended. So please get on to crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com or on to subscribestar.com or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. Become a sponsor on one of those platforms. You can also follow on X at JG_CSTT. Candace never addressed any of that evidence. And remember, Baron Coleman was really aggressive and unprofessional with Adam Bartholomew. See, that's the thing. Why are all these people, they know each other, they're hovering around Adam Bartholomew. I think Baron was the guy who said that Adam Bartholomew was up to no good. I saw no evidence of that. He tells me his son goes to the college. That's certainly plausible. He's in his 40s, his son is 18 or whatever. He's there, he's a local guy in Utah who covers these kind of events. His Twitter page was him facing off with Antifa. He said he's covering the counter protests to these various conservative causes. It's kind of exactly what I do, or did at one point. And he's there, and Charlie gets killed, and he's covering the event. So why is Barron so suspicious and aggressive? I mean, yeah, sure, be skeptical, but they ignored all the stuff about the drones. They ignored all the stuff about the U.S. Army ISR jet, and she kicked up this whole thing about the Egyptian Air Force, whatever. Whatever happened with that, by the way? People might say to me, well, whatever happened with the U.S. Army ISR jet? I mean, the point is, I got all jammed up. They basically, restricted my Twitter account. All of them came at me. They boosted up the network of idiots who I'm talking about. Kept kicking me out of their streams. Ryan Mata, that's the other thing. Candace was constantly talking about and promoting and boosting Ryan Mata. I should do a show about this. I was on a Twitter space with another lying loser who I thought was legitimate, who had a Twitter space, and she's a social engineer. She's constantly promoting George. I'm talking about what's her name? Pia Varma, British person. I guess she sounds American, though. She doesn't have a British accent. Living in the UK. That's a hallmark of being a social engineer. Somebody who lives outside the United States, but English is their primary language. That way they can say all kinds of defamatory things, and it's extremely difficult to hold them legally accountable. But, she created one of these X spaces that was supposed to be, hey, let's ask Blake all these questions, and it turned into a, crap on Jason session. She allowed George Webb's brother with an unknown, anonymous, locked account to spew endless crap. I mean, that's not a serious person. She wanted that to happen that way. I have zero respect for her now. And it's, again, why is all this happening around that murder of Charlie Kirk? So many social engineers. And Candace is really the tip of that spear. So I'm curious to see what comes of all this. And I do not believe that Laura forged those documents. I acknowledge there are some very suspicious problems with them, and I wonder how that happened. But I have a feeling this isn't going away. So we'll see. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Don't forget to sponsor the show, and have a great day. Crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com and subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth.